bearing to us. But just for our understanding, like they say that many people say God is great, but why God is great, no one knows. Similarly, why the Vedic calendar is superior and why these otherwise are not really worth is to be understood. The Vedic calendar is based on the movement of the moon and the sun both. We have to understand that the moon moves in its own way and the sun moves in its own way. So there are certain calendars who follow only the moon. There are certain calendars who only follow the sun. But the correct way of calculating is when you take into account the movement of the sun as well as the moon. And that is exactly what the Vedic calendar does, and therefore it is perfect. One. Second thing, if you have observed in the professional life, there is a calendar year end that is 31st December, and there is a financial year end that is on 31st March. There's a difference of how many days? Around 90 days. January, there are 31 days. Then Feb, there are 28 or 29 days. And again, March has 31 days. So roughly 60 days is there. Why it is so? Because in the earlier times, there was a religious head who would decide the year or who would maintain the calendar. And that institution made a big mistake, and over a period of time, slowly, the dates slipped. And they found that the seasons were changing in different ways. Like, if there has to be in a particular season, say in December, if it has to be cold, it was not cold, but it was hot. So then they realized that they had slipped. And after they slipped, they referred to our calendar and they recalibrated or corrected our calendar. So that is why we should know, because this calendar which we follow, January, February, it is merely measurement of days. The fact that the earth completes 1 year in 364 and some days is a fact which has come to be known to modern man just few years back. However, the Vedic calendar knows it since time immemorial, because the Vedic knowledge comes from the Lord, who is himself perfect. So the regular calendar that we follow is merely a counting of days, whereas the Vedic calendar is actually a calendar, as I said, which takes care of the movement of the sun and the moon, and it matches them. Therefore, if you see in the regular calendar, only generally the date of Sankranti matches on the same year. Every year it is 14th Feb or 14 Jan, or then 15 Jan, whatever it comes. Why? Because they have been able to even today capture only the sun's movement. Sankranti is a day, so therefore it comes every day on the same day of the regular calendar, right? Because they're only calendar, but all other days don't come. And how are we taught? We are taught the reverse way, or we also think in the reverse way. What do we think? Are your birthday has come? How it has come now? Huh? Your birthday that time in actually according to Vedic calendar, and now how it is come? It is not the problem with the Vedic calendar. It is a problem with the English calendar, right? Neha Mataji, you have put a hands up. You wanted to ask any question?
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you
Mataji.
hear me, sir? Yes. Sir,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to ask you one thing. Our Vedic calendar is the oldest. It is so perfect. Then where did we lose it? How it is lost and not in Christian calendar is followed worldwide. It is universal. Means everybody is following it. Even if they are Chinese, they have their own Chinese calendar, but they still, just to be in in track and on par with the world, they still follow the English calendar. Where did we lose our Vedic calendar? How? Whereas it is so strong and it is so old.
Mataji, there is a proverb in English which says might is right. So the British ruled practically the entire earth. See, what America is today was British Empire at one time. What is Canada today? That is the whole of Americas was almost British Empire. Whole of US and Canada. The whole of, almost all of Africa was, Asia was, Australia, New Zealand were, right? Today they have declared independence after civil war and other things. But the people speaking English and following this calendar, whether they were the English, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, they were the rulers of the entire world at one point of time. So they have pushed this or forced this calendar on all of us, right? So we lost the calendar not because it was not perfect, but we lost it because we lost political power and we lost self-respect and we lost knowledge. So if we want to reinstate that, then it has to start, charity has to start from home. Because your question I will extend. Why it was lost is this is the reason. So they imposed it on us. But yes, the Indian government after independence has done that effort that even if you see today, the official letters of the government of India have both the dates. What this calendar is there, it is called as a Gregorian calendar, right? So the Gregorian calendar date is there and the Vedic date also is there in that. So now what we need to do is we also need to start doing that. So when it becomes used by us, then naturally it will be like that. And in that case, we should be actually trying to follow the Chinese or the others that for business reason, for practicality of professionalism, they use the Christian calendar or the Gregorian calendar. But for their purpose, they use their own calendar. So we also do to some extent, like for marriages and other things, generally when the patrika or the marriage invitation is made, it is written that, the marriage is on so and so date, we write the Vedic date, which is, okay, 31st of December or whatever is the date, right? So we are following it, but we follow it in a very vestigial way. It is just a vestigial remain it has become. So what we need to do is we need to start following that. We should know, we should teach our children, we should ourselves learn and we should teach our children about what Vedic calendar is, right? How it is useful to us. Like, the fishermen and all whose profession depends on tides, they know, like when we go to Akhada, which is a fishing village, 100%, are all from the fisherman community. The kids also there know that. They know when the high tide, low tide is there. They know when Ekadashi is there. Why they know? Because it gives them professional importance. Because by the calendar you don't know. But because of the Vedic calendar, because of Ekadashi and other tithis, they know when there is going to be high tide, when there is going to be low tide. According to the nakshatra, they can tell which fish will be caught today. They can do that also. So the second question should be, how do we take it, reinstate it? We have to reinstate it in this way, right? And for that, all of us should do some research, because what I am speaking is on just very preliminary and raw knowledge that I have about it. But we should do it, and then we should teach our children, learn ourselves, and we should start using it. When we start using it, then it will become predominant, and that's how it is. Have I answered your question, Mataji? Neha Mataji, have I answered your question? I guess I'm audible.
Can you hear? Yeah. Sir, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah. My question is answered. There's one more thing.
Yeah.
If you remember, I had a little chat with you in the past, and we were mentioning
Okay.
you'll have a class based on our Hindu months. So please keep that in mind for in the near future.
I have made many such promises to many people. There is one more devotee here. His name is Mukul Sharma Prabhu from Jammu. So he had asked me years back, I think at least 1.5 years, or at least before COVID, to write a small article or make a write-up on this, which I promised him I'll do in a fortnight. But it's been, I don't know how many, more than 2 years, 2.5 years. We'll surely do it ASAP, Mataji. I'll try my best. At least you keep reminding me.
Yes,
so out of shame, at least I will do.
No, but
Any
I'll
other
remind
question?
you.
Yeah,
No,
please,
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else has any question? It is nice that devotees are asking questions. Anyone has a question? Any other question? Any either related or unrelated will be nice. I feel today on the eve of the Gregorian year end, let us talk something about the Vedic calendar or about some Vedic subjects. So anyone has any questions? Okay. Let me say something. I don't know how it turns out, but next Saturday, Sunday, we are planning, this is for most of you must be hearing for the first time. This announcement is more for devotees in Goa and around. We are planning to go to Udupi next weekend. So we plan to leave Friday night and come back on Sunday evening or Sunday night. So those of who are interested may contact Damodara Prabhu Damodar Parsekar Prabhu or Damodar Naik Prabhu, and then they will give you the details. And since COVID appears to be increasing, we are planning that we use our own vehicles and go. So that is the best thing, because we can have sanitized what is it, atmosphere while traveling. It is flexible to travel, because when we go by car, the experience is that last time we made it in 4.5 hours when the road was not complete. Now we could make it earlier, but at least in 4 or 5 hours we can go, and then we can go to many places in the same time. And it's nice to go together, right? So what devotees could do is, if it's they're a family of 4, then they could take their own car. If there is space, they could accommodate one person. Else, then they could just take their own car and come. And then we will decide the place from where to leave and all the other logistics. We will work out. So those who are interested may contact Damodar Prabhu, Damodar Parsekar Prabhu, and Damodar Naik Prabhu, and this. And the expenses will be at actuals. The petrol costs or diesel costs will be what your car you have to put, that you will have to take care. The room rent there, generally last time when I went, was 900 rupees for a non-AC room and 1200 rupees for AC room. So we'll have to pay for Friday night and Saturday night, so 2 nights. So if it's a family of 4, then you can use one room. So it is like 900 divided by 4 or 1200 divided by 4. Food 2 times a day, the temple gives free food there. Full meal is given. So we generally have the meals in the Udupi Krishna Mandir, and then one. So there'll be 4 meals that we'll have there, 4 or 5 meals. So at least 3 meals we'll have in the temple, and the fourth meal we generally have in Pajak Kshetra. That is the birthplace of Madhvacharya, which is where we have to pay some amount. They generally charge between 140 to 160 or 180 per plate, but then that is like 13-14 items they make there, generally. The best I have got is 3 sweets and then some 8-10 items else, but that varies plus minus. So that is a rough estimate of the expense. So devotees could contact Damodar Parsekar Prabhu or Damodar Naik Prabhu. They will give you further details. And Udupi is a very, very beautiful place. It is the birthplace of Madhvacharya. And if all of us, of those of us or all of us who consider ourselves as the Vaishnavas, we have to understand that, but the path that we are following, or the disciplic succession that we belong to or we should associate with, is coming from Madhvacharya. It is called as the Brahma Madhva Gauda Sampradaya. That is, it comes from Brahmaji, and Madhvacharya being one of the prime gurus in that, right? So Madhva Gauda Madhva Brahma Gauda Brahma Madhva Gauda Sampradaya it is. So, and we have one devotee, his name is Tejas Pandit Prabhu. So if he comes along, then we can get much more deeper insights into Udupi. So I will invite him to come, and let us see how it works out. So I guess the COVID thing is going to again spiral around. So we should have yatra before that, and any restrictions come in place. So everyone is requested to kindly plan, consult your family, your spouse, wife, husband, family, others, and try to come. And once it is finalized, then we can do the booking of rooms accordingly, right? Because we need to do that in advance, right? So please contact Damodar Parsekar Prabhu and Damodar Naik Prabhu. And if someone has constraints on finance, did not worry. Damodar Prabhu, both of them, you can talk to them in person, whoever you know, and they will take care of it. And someone not having car, this, that accommodating and all that, we will take care. So that also you can contact Damodar Prabhu and Damodar Parsekar Prabhu and Damodar Naik Prabhu for that. They will manage it. But if as far as possible, kindly confirm by tomorrow or maximum day after, because weekends is also rush in Udupi. So we'll have to book rooms in advance there, right? Otherwise, then it will be a little this, because since we are going as a family mostly, so we would need more number of rooms. We would not, dormitory would not work. So one of the clean places that are known to us, or the cleanest places, there getting rooms is a little issue, and that is very, very close to the temple, right? So therefore, you'll have to take precaution for doing it fast. So coming back, for those of you, how many of you have gone to Udupi before? Can you all just raise your hands here? Those who have gone to Udupi, can you just raise your hands? Yes, even Ashish too has gone. Yes. Only two devotees? Yeah, Tejas too has gone many times. Ashma Mataji, you have gone several times. Gauri Mataji has gone several times. Pranav, you like to come? Because Prabhu, you also have gone many times. I guess Shilpa Mataji also has gone. Okay. But only the condition is only those who are regularly attending these programs can come, these classes can come. Others may not be allowed to come. So that is very straight. So if you have been attending the classes regularly, only then contact Damodar Prabhu. Only then they will entertain you. For those of you who have not been there, Udupi is a place of Lord Udupi Krishna, and it is a place or the Karma Bhumi of Madhvacharya. And from close from Udupi, there are many holy places. As they say, every 50 meters is one temple or one holy place there. The prime among them being the Durga Parmeshwar, the Udupi Krishna temple, the Chandramoleshwar temple, the Ananteshwar temple, which are in the same campus of Udupi Krishna temple. Then we have the Durga Parmeshwari temple and Parshuram temple and Madhvacharya's residence in the vicinity. And then there are many other temples. And one of the main places that we intend to visit this time is the Gurukul in Hebri. Damodar Naik Prabhu had recently visited there with Mataji, Ashma Mataji and Damodar Prabhu had gone there. So it's a very beautiful place. So we intend to visit that provided we are allowed to go there. Like they allow us, but I'm just saying for that sake. So that's it. Any other questions anyone has? Anyone would like to ask? Okay. So if there are no questions, then I will start reading. We were almost about to complete chapter number 14 in Radha Damodar Vilas. So Traidas Prabhu remembers. Jayananda taught me how to drive. I spent some time with him as his assistant driver while he was doing spiritual sky around the whole Bay Area. He was selling that incense, agarbatti. San Francisco, the South Bay and the East Bay. He'd make the appointments and I would drive him around. I had gotten my driver's license before I joined, but he put me in the driver's seat of our Volkswagen Bug and said, "We have to be in San Francisco in 20 minutes. This is how you shift. Okay, let's go." It was the first time I ever drove. I never drove a car before, and we were driving over the Bay Bridge. He was saying, "You are doing great. Now get over in the right lane. You're going to make a right hand turn at the next street. Okay, turn here, turn right." I always had the feeling that I was fully protected because of his warm, giving personality. Traveling throughout the Bay Area, selling spiritual sky products and trying to manage the temple simultaneously leads to an incompatible situation. At this point, Jayananda steps down from the presidency, requesting Lochan to once again take up the service from Srila Prabhupada for Srila Prabhupada. He comments, "I don't like to sit in the office and hear all those problems. This girl wants to get married or this guy wants to bloop. He is not at home in the kind of atmosphere. Neither does he like giving orders to devotees. His understanding is that a Vaishnava is a servant. For Jayananda, being in charge is a disturbance into his service. Just as good Pujari performs his service on the altar in such a way that he doesn't draw any attention to himself, but allows the full focus to remain on the deities. In the same way, Jayananda does the needful for Berkeley Temple to satisfy the Lord and his devotees without any flair and attention to his own personal needs. This is Jayananda's final brush with management. He just wants to do as much service as he can, the way he feels he can serve the best, and he never takes management position again. He prefers to work under other authorities so that he can truly be servant of the servants. With this, we complete the 14th chapter. and we go to the 15th chapter or the 15th wave. The name of the chapter is the Bhakti Yoga Mobile, the dictations by which one advances in knowledge or creative faculties come from the Lord. Tampa, Florida, December 1971. Pusta Krishna has returned home from Bangladesh and India, where he met Srila Prabhupada and accepted initiation. But soon the itch to go out and preach overtakes him once again. He decides to try the University of South Florida and relocates to Tampa. Following Prabhupada's unfailing formula, he simply sits down on the campus lawn with a pair of kartals and chants Hare Krishna. It is not long before he attracts curious and interested people. Gradually, he starts doing little programs around town. In order to capitalize on success of the preaching, he contacts Bhavabhuti for assistance, some other devotee, and discovers that Kirtanananda Swami has put together a traveling program and wants to test it out in Florida. Let's rent a house and we'll have a place from where for them to come to, Bhavabhuti suggests. As he temporarily stays with friends, Pushta Krishna immediately agrees to the idea. Together, they rent a two-bedroom house on a corner lot, 1 block from the Woodlawn Cemetery. After cleaning up the place, they paint the rooms with shades of yellow and lavender. Soon joins them to help turn the place into a temple. Meanwhile, the roadshow convoy stops to do Sankirtan at towns in Georgia and North Florida. On their way downtown to Tampa, there are 4 busloads of very talented, creative, and enthusiastic devotees, who both men and women. Since Kirtanananda Swami has dubbed the show Every Town and Village, the mood is to help fulfill the prophecy of Lord Chaitanya that in every town and village around the world my name will be sung. So this is a prophecy that Lord Chaitanya had made. Prithivite yachi yat nagaradi gram sarvatra prachar hoibo moro naam. The Radha Krishna deities always go along to create a happening in the park or on the street in the center of town. They go out on the streets with their devotees in Sanford, Orlando, Winter Haven, and St. Petersburg. The devotees make a beautiful swing of their lordships Jhulan Yatra pastime, and devotees delight in swinging them on special occasions. Lambodara Prabhu remembers. We would pull into any space that was available and throw up Zubin's tie-dye. We had yards and yards and miles of tie-dye material, that means some fabric. So we were this hippie Hare Krishna extravaganza with crystals and bells and a magical show about the age of Kali. We kind of branched out and did whatever we could, traveling Sankirtan shows and colleges. I did a lot of singing with Mangalananda. When I wasn't acting, I was singing. A lot of us were musically inclined actors or dancers, but there wasn't a lot of support for that kind of thing at temples. So Kirtanananda Swami piled us all into buses and took us around. Zubin Prabhu remembers. I started to decorate the altars and temples as we traveled. There were little towns and cities where we would stop along the way, and I had whip out some fabric and tie-dye a little altar for the deities because I had skills and satins. I had silks and satins and velvets. Everywhere we went, there was incredible ceremony. At this point, the devotees are unaware that they are traveling with Sri Radha Damodara, whose mission is to inaugurate traveling Sankirtan by always traveling themselves. For the roadshow devotees, they are simply Radha Krishna, and everyone loves them. Whenever they travel in their temple bus, Harikesh ties them down with ropes so that they will be safe and secure in the event of some untoward event. Shilavati doesn't like the deities are tied up and objects. We can't tie up Radha and Krishna, but the response is always, well, we have to. It's to protect the deities when they travel. Gradually, everybody begins to notice that these deities are very playful and enjoy having little pastimes with the devotees. Harikesh Prabhu remembers. The first pastime was whenever they were being driven. I was driving the temple bus and the deities had to be tied in the back. I had the rear view mirror set in such a way that I could always see the deities. I remember once very clearly I was looking in the mirror while I was driving along, and I was just absorbed in the beauty of the deities. All of a sudden, after about 2 minutes, I realized that I was driving the bus. So I quickly looked at the road to see where I was, and believe it or not, the bus was still on the road making turns and everything along this winding road. So I was looking at the deities, and the deities were steering the bus somehow or the other. Unbelievable. From St. Petersburg, the caravan arrives at the little house serving as ISKCON Tampa. The wooden frame bungalow has a kitchen, a porch, a living room that has been turned into a temple room, and a bathroom in the rear. All of a sudden, there are 30 people in this tiny house with only one bathroom. Many devotees sleep on the buses or on the porch. A show, a shower hose is hooked up in the backyard, although it's a little cold during the morning hours, even in Florida. Bhagavad Prabhu remembers. I called Kirtanananda to come down, thinking he would come with the same group in a van that came from Tallahassee. One day there were four yellow school buses out there, and about 30 people with tie-dye shirts, drums and instruments and DTs. It was completely amazing. I thought the road show was just a van with seven people. They performed some plays, and I thought this was great. It was a whole new thing for me. Pushta Krishna Prabhu remembers. There was very little friction with so many people living in such close quarters. It was truly remarkable how these people got along together so well, because they were pretty high powered, creative people whom you would expect to have larger than average egos. It was a credit to their service attitude and Krishna consciousness that they were able to do that. They were putting together some songs with electric rock music, and that was completely new to Krishna consciousness. Kirtanananda Swami was a very humble, inspired devotee. He didn't play a very active role in the program. He would just give a talk, and the creative people would present the show. Pusta Krishna is concerned that the landlady is going to completely freak out. She's a very nice Cuban lady. So when Pusta Krishna preaches to her, she becomes charmed and excited that somehow she can play a part. It's remarkable that the neighbors don't seem to be bothered very much, even with the morning and evening kirtans. Once settled in, Kirtanananda gathers his creative nucleus around him and goes out to do the television and radio shows that Bhagwat has already arranged. Because of their strange look, the devotees attract a lot of media attention. Radha Damodar appear on every TV show in Tallahassee, Gainesville, and Tampa. Whenever the devotees go out to chant and distribute BTGs, Shri Radha Damodar also go along with their portable altar. Bhavatarini Devidasi. We were we were going on TV interviews. The DTs were on TV a lot, and they love to be on television. We had tie-dye dhotis and saris. The DTs had tie-dye canopies. A lot of people joined because of the music, the tie-dye clothes, and the prasadam. We had big kirtan parties in all the towns. Harikesh Prabhu remembers. In Gainesville, we had some slides on TV and a little lecture. On that show, we sang the Chintamani prayers with Shilavati singing. It was very much a jazz version, different than what Yamuna sang. Shilavati was very quiet. She didn't say much, but when she did say something, it was in a very high voice, which was trembling all the time. We chanted a little Hare Krishna, and we did a play, The Frog in the Well. I would play piano, Mangalananda would play guitar, Gariyan would play bass, and Dulal Chandra would play drums. It was a very nice show. Now that the troupe is settled in Florida, everyone gets down to serious rehearsals to put together a professional production. Vrindavan Chandra is the talent who directs the plays and formats the entire show. He is the creative artistic force in these early days. Most of the skits that are formulated come out of his mind. He has written the Kali play. So when he plays Kali, sorry, not Kali, Kali, he really becomes Kali. Aura plays Sin, some other Mataji's name. And when she puts on her makeup, big red lips with black caul on the eyes and green makeup on the face, she is knockout. She's a knockout. Aura is a fabulous actress who always has a wonderful sense of humor and jokes about every little intrigue. She is a large woman of mixed Lebanese and Jewish ancestry with dark hair and a very exotic look. The concept of the play is introduction of the age of Kali and then the dawning of the golden age of Lord Chaitanya. The introduction with Kali's killing the cow is a dark presentation depicting how everything in material life is degraded. But the play ends with the glories of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Zubin decorates the set with his miles of tie-dye fabric, with his miles of tie-dye fabric, while Bob is in charge of the sound system and light show. Lambodara has a magical voice, but musically, Mangalananda is the guiding light. He is the performer, the singer, songwriter who also plays guitar. In addition, he does a finger puppet show using his index finger and thumb to form a face with a mouth. He paints in the eyes, nose, and lips around the circle formed by the index finger and thumb. Shrutakirti Prabhu remembers. Mangalananda would do classrooms in different schools, and I remember him speaking by way of finger puppets. He was a very talented man. Everything he did had a particularly humorous style that was quite enjoyable. People could relate to it and have a lot of fun with it. Jamadagni shows up in Tampa with lyrics and poetry, and Mangalananda begins writing melodies to put the poetry to music. Tampa is beginning of their collaboration, but Jamadagni has never been very stable and he frequently disappears only to show up again out of the blue. Still, they managed to write a lot of good songs together. The Tampa temple is a simple house, and the facilities for the deities are also simple. Radha Damodar is sit in a corner of the temple room on their portable altar come palanquin with curtains front and back. Narad Muni is the assistant pujari under Shilavati. Now, these names don't mean that it is Narad Muni. There is a devotee called Narad Muni. There is a devotee Mataji called Shilavati. He wakes up the deities every morning and heats up the milk for the offering. Shilavati and Kirtanananda are really into the puja program. Together, they perform the bathing ceremony for the deities every morning. As devotees chant their japa without putting up a screen for privacy, it is not even considered that a screen is necessary. Some devotees are not initiated, but Shilavati simply announces, those people who aren't devotees shouldn't be in the room. The deities are bathed with sandalwood oil, and Shilavati and Kirtanananda give them a complete massage while chanting japa and watches. Mahamaya Devidasi Mataji remembers. Shilavati was the pujari and she was amazing. She had silvery hair and glasses and was much older than everybody. She was like a mother. When it came time to bathe the deities every morning, she didn't put up any makeshift curtains. She would just bathe them in front of the devotees. Some devotees couldn't handle that. It was too purifying. They would go chant their japa outside. I didn't have second initiation, so I couldn't help her. But I would watch every move she made. Every day she would do something different. One day she would put them in a big stainless steel rectangular transfer container and pour water over them and actually bathe them. Another day she would bathe by mantra. Another day she would bathe by rubbing oil all over their bodies. Sometimes Kirtananda Swami would rub oil on Damodar and she would rub oil on Radharani. It was worship from the heart, very spontaneous. She would chant the prayers from the Brahma Samhita at the top of her lungs while bathing them. She let me sew for them for stitching, and we sewed everything by hand. They had such simple outfits then, one night outfit and 2 day outfits. Veera Krishna Prabhu remembers. We were chanting our japa, watching the deities being bathed. I just felt completely ecstatic seeing the liquids being poured over their heads and being wiped off with a soft cloth by Shilavati Prabhu and then dressed by her. In the early days, devotees have not been seen Abhishek ceremonies, so some are not comfortable seeing deities bathed in public. Once a week, Shilavati also shows Radharani's lotus feet by dressing her in an outfit that gathers up around her ankles. Of course, the devotees are in awe of the deities and Shilavati is very protective of them. But she does give the impression that only she knows how important the deities are and no one else. Prabhupada had said that she was the authority for puja, but some people think that it has gone to her head and that she is beginning to speculate. Harikesh Prabhu remembers. Shilavati decided that deity worship was for everybody and the deity should be bathed and dressed right in front of everybody. It was strange. We felt like we were intruding on something private. Then after a while, we stopped it. Shrutakirti Prabhu remembers. They were a funny pair, Shilavati and Kirtanananda, and they spent a lot of time together. They were like the priestess and the Swami. They got along very well. We were traveling though through one town and something must have happened to Krishna's flute because we were mad after getting a flute. She was going into all these different shops trying to find something that would be a flute. We spent hours and hours trying to find the right type of rod. Finally, she managed to get a piece of gold plated rod and we worked on and turned into a flute. The buses are still not completely ready for long-term travel. Harike's service is to finish outfitting the kitchen bus so that the party won't have to be dependent on other people out on the road. He locates a large second-hand kitchen equipment warehouse in Tampa's industrial area and builds the kitchen bus entirely out of stainless steel, including the floor and walls. To supply the needs of the deities and devotees, he finds a huge water tank normally used on airplanes. It has special ribs in it so that the water won't flow back and forth in the tank and knock the bus over while driving down the highway. The tank holds an incredible amount of water, enough to supply both the deities and the devotees for drinking and bathing. The water tank sits over the rear wheels with just enough space behind it for the woman to take rest. A door at the rear of the bus allows the women to climb into their cramped quarters behind the tank that stretches across both the sides of the bus, separating it from the kitchen. The prasadam is always excellent. Mangalananda, Harikesh, and Garian are the cooks, and they're all experts. An avocado tree growing in the temple yard is now in season, yielding an abundance of avocados. These are excellent avocados and very tasty. One Sunday feast, Harikesh makes avocado halwa, avocado pakoras, avocado chutney, just about avocado everything. It's an avocado feast and everybody seems to like it. Shrutakirti is the treasurer and he always seems to be counting the Lakshmi. He is also Kirtanananda's servant, so he generally stays in the background doing Maharaj's laundry and other services for him. He has nothing to do in the show itself. One day, due to musical differences with Harikesh, Mangalanda decides that he won't play in the band